You open up your pantry, grab a jar of ground cinnamon, and reach for another jar of turmeric. Think you're being healthy, giving your body anti-inflammatory power, and maybe adding a little color to your latte art. You may want to think again. The jars in your cupboard may not contain what you think they do. And that's just one example of food fraud, which costs US consumers an estimated $15 billion annually. Yeah, food fraud is real, and it happens more often than you might think. Today we're going to dive into 3 common spices that are frequently faked, diluted, or straight up contaminated, so that you can better protect yourself against low quality and sometimes downright dangerous products when you go shopping. Turmeric. Let's start off with turmeric. If you don't already know, turmeric is the bright yellow root vegetable that belongs to the ginger family and gives curry its signature color. You may use it to add flavor to Indian dishes like chicken tikka masala or golden milk, a spicy drink from Ayurvedic medicine. Or maybe you sprinkle it into stir-fries or marinades. Maybe you've started adding turmeric to your lattes, thanks to a famous coffee shop. But regardless of how you use it, turmeric is gaining popularity around the world for its supposed healing properties. That's why it's no surprise that more than 230 million pounds of the stuff were imported into the United States in 2019 alone. But those millions of pounds of turmeric weren't just sold under the name turmeric. In India, where the majority of the world's turmeric comes from, much of the export product has been found to be contaminated with lead chromate, a bright yellow pigment banned by the FDA in foods. Lead chromate gives turmeric an intense shade of yellow, especially appealing in the market for turmeric that wants to sell bright yellow dye for fabric or traditional medicines. Because of this, many unscrupulous sellers adulterate their product with lead chromate instead of harvesting the more expensive naturally colored turmeric root. But lead chromate isn't just bad for fabrics. In humans, the compound is toxic to the brain and kidneys. While lead chromate has not been shown to cause cancer, one study published in the Journal of Environmental Science and Health found that exposure to lead chromate particles caused oxidative damage to rat tissues, including the brain and kidneys. It's a small step down from the more infamous toxic additive, leadazide, which has been found in Chinese turmeric. Leadazide causes central nervous system disorders, anemia, kidney damage, convulsions, and even death. So if you're concerned about whether or not your turmeric is safe, check the label. Look for independently tested turmeric or certified organic turmeric. These certifications will ensure that your turmeric doesn't contain any unexpected additives. Of course, the same goes for any other spice. But there are 2 more that you should keep an eye out for on your next trip to the grocery store. Cinnamon. Cinnamon is one of the most popular spices in the world. With its warm flavor and aroma, it's used in everything from baked goods like cinnamon rolls and apple pie to savory dishes like jambalaya and pozole. But not all cinnamon is the same. True Ceylon cinnamon comes from Sri Lanka and has a pale yellow inner bark with delicate flavor. But the stuff you usually find in stores isn't true Ceylon cinnamon. Instead, it's cassia. Cassia grows wild in China and other parts of Asia and has a dark brown inner bark with a strong flavor. While both types of cinnamon are safe for consumption, cassia contains more coumarin, a chemical that can be toxic to the liver in large amounts. For this reason, some countries including Canada and some states including New York restrict or ban the sale of cassia. As of now, the FDA has not set a maximum limit for coumarin in food, though they do note that high levels of coumarin may cause liver damage. However, the European Union has established a limit of 50 parts per million, ppm, for cinnamon, a level that public health officials say is unlikely to cause adverse effects. In 2014, the Center for Food Safety tested 22 cinnamon products available in the US and found that 18 of them contained more coumarin than allowed in the EU. If you love cinnamon, don't throw out your entire collection of cinnamon-flavored things, but be mindful of where your cinnamon comes from. If you're looking for safer alternatives, try purchasing pure Ceylon cinnamon, which naturally contains less camphor. As with turmeric, check for certification to ensure there are no added fillers. Oregano. Okay, let's talk oregano. Oregano is a staple of Mediterranean cooking. Its leaves add a distinct flavor to pizza sauce, pasta, and meat dishes. But some brands have been accused of diluting their oregano with cheaper ingredients like olive leaves or weeds. A 2012 study published in the Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry analyzed 22 commercial oregano samples from the US and Europe. The results: 6 samples didn't even contain oregano. 1 was pure olive leaf, while the rest were mixed with various weeds such as stinging nettle and broadleaf plantain. The study determined that the oregano sold in the US had more contaminants than the oregano sold in Europe, which makes sense since most commercial oregano in the US comes from China. But this isn't the first time oregano has been called into question. Back in 2007, an Italian court sentenced a Spanish businessman to 6 years in prison after finding him guilty of selling adulterated oregano. The oregano he sold was 60% contaminated with weeds and other plants. Even today, oregano sold in the US is largely unregulated, so it's hard to tell if your oregano is the real deal. To increase your chances of avoiding contaminated oregano, buy whole spices and grind them at home. This way, you'll know exactly what you're getting. The bottom line? If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Whether it's oregano, turmeric, or cinnamon, some spice companies cut corners to save money. And they may seem like harmless spices, but these contaminated spices may make you sick. Buying whole spices and grinding them yourself is your best bet. If that's not possible, look for certified organic spices or spices that have been third-party tested for quality. Suspiciously cheap spices are a red flag. If the price seems too good to be true, it probably is. There are a lot of ways that food gets mislabeled or tampered with. From olive oil sold in fancy glass bottles that's actually a mixture of oils to fake maple syrup made with corn syrup. It can feel overwhelming to figure out what's safe to eat. We've got your back. On this channel, we break down complicated food science and nutrition research so you can make informed decisions about the food you eat every day. Honey, olive oil, vanilla, saffron. Is it worth paying more for the real thing? What does organic even mean? Leave your questions in the comments and we'll tackle them all. Drop a emoji, hit like and follow so you never miss an expose. Real spices add real flavor, so don't settle for anything less. Thanks for watching.